With ever-increasing tax revenues from natural gas and oil, housing and hotel shortages, and abundant employment opportunities, the residents of Sublette County are well aware of the oil and gas industry's economic value. The jobs, interests, and lifestyles of many individuals, companies, and towns in the Upper Green River Valley have been intertwined with the ups and downs of the oil and gas industry for well over a century. In fact, early pioneers were reported to have greased their wagon wheels in heavy oil from a seep at Fossil in Spring Valley in 1847, and cowboys reported oil on horses' hooves at Birch Creek in 1892. In the early 1900s, geologists A.G. Burritt and Christian Vrang predicted a positive outlook for oil production in the area when they surveyed the east side of the Wyoming Range. 4 rigs began drilling near LaBarge in 1902, and by 1920, the boom was on as 25 companies operated in the LaBarge area north toward Big Piney. These early wells were first drilled using a springboard drilling system, then utilized cable tool technology that originated in China before coming to the U.S. Both of these drilling processes were both time and labor intensive. The early teens saw an increase in drilling activity, and in 1920, the federal government changed the method governing oil and gas drilling and ownership rights from placer law to a lease system. Whereas the placer system gave claim ownership to the individual or company who discovered oil or gas in commercial quantities, the new lease system allowed individuals or companies to lease the drilling rights in an area without any previous exploration or discovery. Some conflicts and inequities accompanied this changeover. By 1924, Wyoming Reserve, Beneficial Oil, and Wyota Oil established wells in the LaBarge shallow field. Many other companies soon struck oil as this field became the first one in the Rocky Mountains to produce oil from tertiary deposits. An oil well blew in at the Rainbow Oil Company lease west of LaBarge in 1925, and more wells soon followed. The Rainbow property continues to produce oil and gas into the 21st century. In 1926, California Petroleum Corporation, or CalPET, purchased Beneficial Oil's interests and constructed bunkhouses, a cookhouse where Chinese cooks fed up to 300 men a day, staff houses, a recreation hall, a small refinery, and machine shop, as well as oil derricks. Texaco purchased CalPET and other interests in 1928, but work continued at this site until 1956 when the refinery closed. While commercial quantities of gas were also discovered in the early days of drilling, no market existed and the wells were shut in or the gas was used on the lease site or flared. Then on December 4, 1938, the Big Piney shallow field was discovered when water and gas blew out of the Bud No. 1 well, covering the rig with tons of ice as workers struggled to control the blowout by forcing logs and other debris down the hole. The blowout finally contained on January 29, 1939, and further drilling on the site was abandoned. However, this event signaled the start of the search for natural gas that would dominate Sublette County in future years. In 1952, Belco Petroleum, now EOG Resources, leased properties in the Big Piney gas field, and Belco and other companies began to drill more rapidly and to greater depths with the use of rotary drilling rigs and diamond drill bits. Belco developed their reserves for a 1,466-mile pipeline to be constructed from the San Juan Basin of Colorado to Bellingham, Washington. Western Oil Refining's No. 2 well blew in at the Tip Top field in 1952, and production contributed to pipeline capacity. General Petroleum, now Mobil, and Belco purchased interests in the Tip Top field. Texaco was also an initial contributor to pipeline reserves. During the pipeline's construction in 1955 and 56, Wyoming suffered its most severe winter in 52 years, and workers fought 20-foot drifts as they laid 150 miles of pipe. The pipeline was completed in 1956, and the Big Piney compressor station began operation to boost gas pressure from the field to meet pipeline requirements as gas was transported from Sublette County to Opal on its journey to the northwest. At one time, 45 families lived at the compressor station, and children were bused to Big Piney for school. By 1974, families were required to move to Big Piney, and the plant grew to 60 employees by the 1980s and is currently operated by Williams Company. Numerous other companies also produce gas for the pipeline, including Apache, Chevron, Exxon, and Big Piney Oil and Gas. The 1950s boom resulted in a tight housing market as workers and their families crowded into every available house, apartment, and trailer space, sometimes waiting up to a year for semi-permanent housing. The search for ways to access hard-to-reach gas continued, and during the late 1960s and early 70s, the Atomic Energy Commission and El Paso Natural Gas proposed detonating multiple nuclear devices in sequence to fracture the tight gas sands of the Pinedale anticline. A group of Pinedale citizens formed the Wagon Wheel Information Committee and vigorously opposed the project all the way to Washington, D.C. The plan eventually died, but not before devices were detonated in Colorado and New Mexico with disastrous results. What gas was not consumed by the blasts remains radioactive to this day. In the 1960s, Exxon and Mobil wells first penetrated the Madison Formation of the overthrust belt of the Wyoming Range. But the technology and resources needed to process the gas and market the commodities wouldn't be available for another 20 years. As gas prices soared in the late 70s and early 80s, it became cost-effective to drill to depths of 18,000 feet to access gas, requiring extensive processing in the Madison Formation, a gas reservoir up to 900 feet thick. Exploration efforts rose, and the need for a processing plant increased. While the Riley Ridge Environmental Impact Statement of 1983 originally allowed for 3 processing plants, a decrease in gas prices and tight capital left Exxon as the only company with the resources required to move forward. Exxon drilled 21 developmental wells in the Lake Ridge, Fogarty Creek, and Graphite units, and constructed their $2.2 billion LaBarge project. This project included their gathering system, the Black Canyon Dehydration Plant, which removed the water from the gas, and the Chute Creek Plant at Opal, which separated the gas into marketable components. The gas is composed of methane, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, and helium. Hydrogen sulfide is poisonous, but the sulfur was extracted and sold on the secondary market. The carbon dioxide was vented or sold for secondary oil recovery, and the helium, nitrogen, and methane were sold to established markets. The Chute Creek plant went online in 1987, and during the 1990s, Exxon was one of the largest taxpayers in Sublette County after Enron, originally Belco. Enron sold their Wyoming operations to EOG Resources at the turn of the century. In the 1990s, tight gas sand credits made drilling viable in areas that previously lacked enough permeability to make production feasible. McMurray Oil Company's success with improved sand fracturing techniques in the Jonah Field signaled the coming of another energy boom going forward into the 21st century. The sale of McMurray interests makes Encana the dominant player in the Jonah Field, with BP American and Ultra playing major roles. Shell, Questar, Ultra, and BP dominate the Pinedale anticline development. The Wyoming Range continues to be a focus of production and possible gas extraction plants for the future. However, the 21st century exploration and production is still unfolding as both economic and environmental issues are addressed. This tale will be told in a subsequent video.